All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Joe's Minibike Reunion Podcast. Ed, it's season 4, episode
5.
5. What an episode this is going to be, folks. We've got the original OG San Fernando Valley mini biker gang in the house.
SFB.
This was something that had been talked about before, and I'll begin by saying that I'd like to thank Justin Eichler, a friend of the podcast and a friend of the show, for helping bring this on with the help of some communication with some of the guys that are seated here with us tonight. We put together a nice group of guys that came hours away, 2 or 3 hours to get here to be a part of this podcast. So I want to begin by thanking our sponsors, Ed. And when we talk about sponsors, Ed, who are we talking about? Pioneer Car Audio. We've got the logos up there. Our friends from Go Kart USA, Studs Power Sports. We've got, who else? We got their green filters, GoPowersports.com, our friends at Go Kart USA, as well as F&B's back. F&B back? In a big way.
Oh, cool.
Oh, yep. I talked to Frank Franquez recently, and F&B is back as a sponsor of the podcast. You'll be hearing from those guys throughout the rest of the podcast. Leading up to the big day, Ed, right up there.
Yep. 10/19.
10/19/19, Joe's Minibike Reunion, the 8th annual, held at CV Park in La Crescenta. There's Boom Boom giving me the thumbs up. Hey, why is she giving me the finger? All right. It's the 19th. So for those of you who have been asking, make plans now. I'm giddy with excitement, Ed, over the fact that people are coming from near and far. The tales have been told on the social media platforms. They're coming from Arizona. We've got all the Arizona mini bike riders, Joe Petralia and all the guys who came out last year. Thank you. They're going to be coming out again. We got guys from Houston coming in. I understand we have guys possibly coming in from New Orleans. And there has been some talk about where's everybody going to stay. So we'll talk a little bit about what I suggest, folks that come from out of town to attend Joe's Minibike Reunion, where you may want to stay. We'll get into a few things about the event later in the podcast, but before we get too far into that, I want to begin by saying I'm excited to have everybody here. I thank you for all coming, first of all. We'll start with you, Minibike Paul. You're seated next to Mac, along with Cliff Judd and Edwin Mirto. To my, what would that be, stage left, and to stage right, the evil one, Evil Ed. How are you?
All right. How's it going?
I'm digging the new flannel.
No, this isn't new.
Well, you haven't had it on the podcast before. It's a little new to me. You look good in green. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Take the compliment. Jesus Christ. It's tough with it. You look good.
I forgot to put the Levi jacket on.
Oh, well, maybe you can bring that the next podcast. It's June and it's still cold out here.
Sure is.
We'll take fucking summer anytime over here. I mean, I went to Atlanta. It was hot. It was summer in Atlanta.
Freaking rained yesterday.
You know what they say?
Yeah.
So they call it June gloom and this is May gray. Right? So we'll just deal with it. It's going to be so hot pretty soon. We were talking about that. We'll be begging for days like this. So you're looking good in the flannel. You got Guardrail Dave next to you. And we got the king of tacos. We got Taco Bill.
Yay.
Joe's Minibike Reunion Hall of Famer, as well as Evil Ed and Mac. And congratulations to you, Minibike Paul. We'll begin by congratulating and welcoming you to the 2000 Joe's Minibike Reunion Hall of Fame. You know, between the two of us, I noticed that your neck's kinked up that side and my back's kinked up. So between the two of us, you and I are going to have a little dueling necks. Paul, I want to begin with you, and I want to first of all thank you for making the trek down here.
Kinky guys.
Yeah, good, Eddie. Very good. You got a ton of those. You are so quick-witted. You ought to have your own podcast, I tell you. Paul, this one percenter gang. Now, I immediately fast forward to the one percenters as we know of and we're kind of afraid of. The one percenters were those big old gnarly bikers that would come in and steal your cash and eat your food and kiss your bride and maybe even take your car around the block for a couple laps. This does not seem to be that type of crowd. How did we come up with this one percenter? Give us a little bit of a background. Maybe you can start with, we'll keep it simple. The who's, what, where, when, and why. And in no particular order, maybe you can kind of kick us off here.
When I got back into mini bikes, geez, I guess it's almost 10 years ago now. I got onto OMB and you could see where everybody was from. So I just found all the people closest to me and I I would call them and just start talking, and neck was a hard one to break down. But Dave and I hit it off pretty early.
Guardrail Dave.
Yeah, and he invited me to a race that I think it was the last race that group ever really put on. It was out in Santa Clarita.
And Paul, if I could, when was that? What year would that be? Should I go 10 years from now? Are you talking about late 2008,
probably was
2009?
10 years ago.
Okay, so around 2008, 2009.
So I went out there, and Dave was great. He introduced me to everybody who I later realized was everybody I should know.
And who were those guys that he
Well,
introduced you to?
Who was there that day? God, I have to think back. Tommy Props, that was important.
Everyone,
Edwin?
Just about
Edwin.
everyone at these tables.
There was that kid that broke his leg that day, and I ended up buying his engine, I remember later. Dave brought a bike out, and I got interested in it, and that sort of started a thing with me and Dave, where I started buying his bikes, and I pretty much never stopped. I mean, I don't know how many Dave bikes I own, but while Dave builds very nice bikes, he built great bikes.
He builds very fast
I
bikes.
also wanted some of them prettier, so everybody said, hey, you gotta meet this evil Ed guy, he's the guy.
Because Ed
He's
was the
man.
paint guy,
Yeah.
right? Ed's the paint guy.
So I started taking stuff to Ed, and I guess Ed and I became kind of buddies. I even got him where he would come out to my shop and spend a whole day in the shop, and I mean,
Tune up the fleet, maybe? Was that what you're doing, Ed? Were you kind of going out there like you
Well,
do?
he
He's hanging out.
Just hanging out?
And
You know.
Ed had a lot to do with a lot of my best bikes. I don't
I'm
mind
sure.
saying so.
Yeah.
And Nick and I got real buddy, and he started coming down to my shop.
And Nick's almost a neighbor, right? For
Yeah.
those of you who may not be familiar in Southern California,
15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Down the road.
you guys are over the hill towards the Camarillo.
Yeah, there's a valley between us.
Great. So you guys connect as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had met Tommy Props, who isn't here. But Tommy, when I came into mini biking, he was a big deal. So meeting him was a big thing. I went over to his house one day in the valley. He let me ride every bike he owned. He's a great guy. And
he had all the cool tacos and all the cool hadakas.
Yeah.
What were some of the bikes in Tommy's fleet, if you recall? I'm sure he had all of them,
I
right?
own a couple of them yet. I just recently, I guess you had bought that bike, huh? Dave bought it,
Yeah,
and
the
then
Black
I
Widow.
bought it off of Dave. It's a Black Widow, but it's got a beautiful aluminum swing arm and motorcycle forks. I mean, this bike is really nice. I bought some of my first bikes from him, stupid stuff, but good riders. A couple of Chinese bikes. And I bought that Go Devil, one of the old, I think you bought it, or I sold it to somebody, I don't know.
Suitcase
A
bike.
suitcase
Yeah.
bike.
Yeah, I had a few. It wasn't one of those. So Tommy was one of your guys. You're hanging with Nick. You're hanging with Guardrail Dave. And how did
So,
it
I,
get to be the group?
I'm a big boy addict, and so I told him, hey, come on, you guys, let's meet Saturday at Big Boy. So we did. And it was
That's
fun.
Bob's Big Boys
Bob's Big
Hamburgers.
Boys,
For those of
yeah.
us who know that instantly from living out here, there's some of you who may not know that. Paul has probably single-handedly ate the most Bob's Big Boys, whatever they are. And I don't want to bring this up now. And Bill, you've been around long enough. Like, I just turned 60. You're probably a little bit older than me. And Ed, are you a little bit older than me? I never really
I'm
asked.
like 3 years older.
Okay, so you've had enough of those two, right? I hate to be the one to tell you, but those fucking burgers don't do it for me. I have a tough time with Bob's Big Boys. I like their shakes, but anyways, you like them.
Well, what did you grow up eating?
Out here, it's In and Out, without a doubt.
Oh, you've been out here.
Since '82.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess.
So you're the Bob's
you
Big
have-
Boys
you,
guy.
You come from White Castle land, don't you?
No, Crystals.
Okay.
Worse.
Okay.
Yeah. 24 packs.
Right.
Yeah.
You could stomach those, but
The Bob's Big
the
Boy, yeah.
Big Boy just doesn't do it for you.
No.
Must be that secret sauce.
Yeah. But to each your own, right? Did we hit a little soft button with you with the Bob's Big
Yeah,
Boys?
yeah,
You get a little touched by that, Cliff? All right. Because we got some out in the back. We'll put some on there for you. So you're at Bob's Big Boys because you like it.
And we started going there about once a month. And it was pretty early on, and I thought it was in a conversation with Dave about the Hells Angels, which I think it was, and the 1%er thing came out. and I don't know who put it together. I'd love to take credit, but
Cliff started that.
Cliff?
Somebody said, hey,
Cliff started it.
I think. I don't remember.
We'll
then
call
we
ourselves the
indoctrinated
San
it.
I can
Fernando
remember
Valley
something.
1%ers.
Yeah, the San Fernando Valley.
I could see
1%ers.
Cliff suggesting that,
Cliff
Cliff.
started it.
So
I was
That's all.
acquainted with bikers
we
myself.
obviously have limited time, so I think the best thing to say would be there was some really funny stuff happened at Big Boy.
Well, I was curious
we
about
went there
that.
a number of times.
Who did you guys talk about when you're out there? I mean, at some point they become gossipy, right? It's like, hey, fucking Ed, or you believe Joe what he did, or you're not gonna believe Edwin said. So at some point, what are the topics when you guys are meeting there? Are you guys just all in there giving each other shit and breaking balls? Are you talking? I saw a picture of Obama looking in through the mirror. You guys don't seem to be the type that were talking politics. What were you guys doing there besides just giving each other shit?
What do we got around us, man? It was all mini bikes.
Yeah, okay.
And that was the glue that held
Go
us
ahead,
together.
Cliff. Yeah.
But the fabric of this group starts with OMB. Bottom line.
And OMB is the Old Mini Bikes website.
I'm member number 6. I would have probably been number 1 or number 2 if I had signed on.
When you first started to visit it?
The first time I saw
How many are on there now, Cliff?
I don't know, 30. It's over 30,000.
Wow. So you were part of that burgeoning
Yeah.
when Mini Bikes got that launch
Yeah.
from being propelled by social media.
Yeah,
So
we were all getting to know each other.
well,
and-
Paul found you,
Yeah.
and you guys.
Well, I found this guy.
you're-
I was a big antagonizer of Ed because it was really easy to set him off, and he was one of these
Yeah.
all caps posters,
Oh.
and I'd throw something at him, and he wasn't ready for it, and he'd just bark at me.
So you were using online grammar and punctuation when Ed was still, hey, let's face it, Ed, we were number 2 pencil and legal pad guys, right? We weren't really typewriter guys where we would know the difference between upper and lower case. You're not.
I knew it.
Oh, you did.
Oh no, he knew what he was doing. Believe
well,
me.
excuse me. I thought maybe it would have been.
No, I
yeah.
knew what I was doing.
Well,
He was direct and to the point, to say the
Case
least.
4-letter words.
Yeah.
But then they had the velodrome.
Yes,
And
the track in the valley that we talk a little bit about. Some of us a little bit
best.
more than others.
Yeah,
The velodrome was that place where you guys. There was that beacon for all you guys to get together, right?
yeah.
It was one
Well,
of them, yes.
That was kind of when
the
I
valley.
came into the group. It was at the end of that
Okay.
because I
Yeah,
went
that
to meet Ed and I said
After all
I'll be wearing tie dye, so I'll be easy to see. So yeah, and then
Why?
and
Because you
then
guys had been
these
getting
guys-
into it online.
Dave was racing. I don't know if you were there or not. I don't think you were there.
At the velodrome race?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't
No.
there. I just broke my collarbone
He
there.
was there.
Yeah,
Upside down.
yeah.
So
think
Edwin,
Dave
that
got off too,
velodrome that
didn't
they
he?
talk about, Dave. Most of the conversation I had about that had been with you and with Ed, but they all ultimately get back to you. What are your memories from that velodrome? I mean, how you talk about having some spills there, but you probably had some good laps around there too. What
Yeah.
was it like back then racing around there? Were you sneaking in the track? Were you there invited?
No,
or-
that was my first time ever being on that track. But I remember a night or two before the race, I'd be up all night wrenching on the motorcycle, and I've never, just the day before of the race and the day of the race, I've never had so much butterflies in my stomach with any other experience than this upcoming race.
It was a big thing. It was like
a
Little
big
League,
thing
like
for
the
me.
big
I mean,
Little
I
League.
get goosebumps talking
Was
about
it-
it.
What- now, what bike,
Because
Edwin,
it was
were
paved or
Just the whole.
paint.
weren't you part of the illegal soapbox derby?
Yes, I was. That's where we all
What
started.
what kind of bike were you wrenching on that you would ride
well,
on?
it was. I believe I had a champion motor, 6 horsepower champion motor, warmed up a little bit, but it was I think a Joe's mini bike frame.
Yeah, Joe's Downtown
yeah,
Joe.
that was sporting I think 8-inch steel wheels. I think
Oh, at the time?
it's been a long
yeah.
time at the time.
You have a little rear suspension on that thing?
no
or
suspension,
All
it was
rigid?
completely rigid. Yeah.
And Matt, excuse me, Cliff, how about you? What kind of bikes were you riding around with at this time while this is going on? You had a little fleet, but was there one that you were kind of missling around? What were you known to ride?
What got me onto OMB was I had a Taco 100 and I had just started. Well, it was probably a couple years after I started racing with the land speed record card, and I wanted to put it together for
just getting around
the
at bottom?
pit bike for,
Oh, sure.
for what it was meant to do. And
Right.
But gosh, I think I got into the Bajas the Baja Warriors, the big tire bikes.
Interesting.
Because they fit and they rode so much better.
Well, you stuffed the big
But
tire in there.
I always
They're
had a
so
mess
cheap.
of tacos. They weren't all running, but I always had a mess of tacos.
Yeah, the last time I saw you out there, you were with your black taco. When we were at the 818
That
Minibike
one
Parade.
was like a sewing machine.
So, Mac, how did you and Taco Bill get looped into all this stuff? Were you still active like these guys were on OMB, or were you out there at the? I know you were out there selling parts because that's really where a lot of the Mac stories come from.
Yeah,
is your
most-
infamous swap meets. But how did you get stuck, or how did you become a part of this group?
Most of that was just because I had a lot of the parts and stuff, and I go to so many different swap meets and stuff that I pick up a lot of odds and ends and stuff, and I knew who I could tell, hey, I have such and such, I got this piece, I got that part, if you want to come over and take a look at it, whatever. So we did a lot of that kind of stuff, and Taco Bill would be out selling at a swap meet or something, and or be somewhere, and I'd go there and I'd see him with his little display and stuff. So
Everywhere you went, you would probably see him,
Yeah.
and vice versa, right?
I hit a lot of swap meets. My whole life I've been swap meeting.
So you were the part
Mostly buying.
connection for these guys, and who do you go back with the deepest here as you look around the table? Who did you know first out
That
of the
would have
group?
to be it.
Ed. Do you recall how you met Evil Ed?
No, it's been a long
Yeah,
time.
we had that swap meet at
we-
Mad Dogs.
Yeah, his friend Mad Dog. They call him Mad Dog.
Who was Mad Dog, Ed?
He put together a little.
He was
swap
a
meet.
guy that I worked for, and he had this little compound with like a bunch of shops, and
In the valley or something?
yeah, Northridge, and he decided he wanted a mini bike swap meet. So
Is this
we
before
posted
OMB?
it. Huh?
Is this before OMB?
Yes,
Oh,
And
before we got into that.
Yeah.
so
So we're like, what, 12 years
Mac
ago, 15 years
responded.
ago?
At least.
Yeah.
and when he showed up, we met.
Well, he shows up, he's at an instant swap meet.
We had
Mac
never
shows
done.
up.
Yeah, all
We'd
the
never
good
done
shit.
any kind.
Yeah.
He had a ton of shit.
Yeah, we'd never done a little swap meet before, so
Wow.
we just
When
all
did
parked
the,
around this little tiny little area.
when did the swap meets at the bicycle store happen? That was one of the first things I remember ever going to.
Now, what bicycle store are we talking about here, Paul?
Atomic Cycles.
Atomic Cycles, where was that? In the valley, too?
Yeah, right on Saturday.
Okay,
morning.
now that keeps coming up. Who can give me the story on Atomic Cycles?
Ed could give you the best story on that.
Ed? What's the story? What's the one that everybody wants to hear about?
I don't know.
Was it just like the clubhouse where you guys hung out?
It
Or
was the actual
It
bicycle
was a
shop.
bicycle shop.
Okay.
Paul DeLavery repaired bicycles. It was a little shop.
All right, your mic's right in the middle there. I know it's kind of. I just want to remind you. So Paul had this shop, and what was it? It was just located where everybody wanted to be, or Paul was a cool
he
guy.
just would put on swap meets. He put on bicycle swap meets in the back parking lot, and then he got into mini bikes, and then he kind of got a Azusa account, so he was selling mini bike parts and bicycle parts out of the bicycle shop.
Got it.
So then he
Branching out a little bit to the mini bike guys. Yeah.
And then he started having little bicycle swap meets in the back of his shop.
And Azusa still is a stone's throw away from us in Monrovia or Azusa, as the name implies.
Yeah, so he was stocking Azusa stuff in his shop, chain and clutches and stuff.
And the founder of the Mini Motos.
Yeah.
So what did he do? He put together a group or some races, or
Yeah, he put on
Races.
his little
Yeah, put
illegal
on the
races we
races.
had.
and where were those? Were those
They were
at the
everywhere.
velodrome, or were those?
No, well,
That was
the,
one of his races,
The
but that was
velodrome
illegal.
was, yes. But we would go like early Sunday mornings to this
It'd
place
be-
that he would scout out,
yeah.
and then he would
Like a
tell you
secret
where it
spot,
was.
or was
Yeah,
it?
Exactly,
spot.
exactly.
Yeah.
It was like one race a month. We were. he
What
was
would they
going
do
out.
back then? Because you didn't have fucking phones. You guys had like phone books. How did he let the word out? Was it
That was a good-
$2 and hang up on the phone, or how did you guys find out?
He put up a flyer in his window.
Oh, gotcha. So you just went,
And
yeah,
there'd be
sure.
a meeting spot, and from the meeting spot, we would go to the race spot, so nobody knew where the race spot was till they got
So
there.
we couldn't
Very
practice
cool.
or get
And that was
Yeah,
some
yeah.
of the parking structures too.
Yeah,
wasn't
we
it?
did
that
parking
was one.
structures. We did around industrial
Up-
areas.
up
We
the
did
parking structures and
off-roading.
back.
We did the velodrome track.
So your bikes had to be somewhat
Yeah.
all encompassing, right? Because you didn't know what you were doing if you're going to be.
Bring
No
two.
shit. So what was the reputation? Who was the fast guy out of the group? Oh, your butt.
Crisscross. Okay.
So Ed, you're pointing at Edwin in Cliff's direction, and Cliff, you're pointing in Guardrail Dave and Evil Ed. Who wants to go first? Who was the fast one? I for some reason, Edwin, I thought you were
The
sweeping all
the
these-
reason I thought Ed was fast is because he fell off the bike and almost broke his shoulder.
Yep, I did once. Yeah, that was why I didn't race in the velodrome because
Yeah.
I was still recovering
Sore
from
shoulder.
Yeah,
that one
I wasn't part of the group. I really shouldn't have.
what happened, Ed? You just
Went over
just
the
one of those days.
handlebars, hit a rut, went
Oh,
over the handlebars.
it's bound to happen, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
fucking just a matter of time. So you were the fast guy. No shit. You've never really threw that around. You've never been bragging about that.
And then we
but-
went, I met JD, and then we went drag racing because
And he was pretty fast there too.
JD's our engine guy, right?
Yeah.
Where do you work? SI valves or
SI valves.
SI valves?
Yeah.
Now JD, you guys all talk good about. What was JD's deal? He's
We just
I
hung out
remember
in
JD
the
being a
garage.
bald-headed big guy you don't want to
Yeah.
fuck with. I remember that part
Yeah.
about him. But what was his deal? He knew how to build an engine.
yeah,
out of it.
JD was
yeah.
a Saugus Speedway brat.
Yeah, so he was doing
So
this
he
mini
had
bike
a
stuff was
long
easy
line
for him.
of racing under his belt already.
Didn't take much shit. I remember that kind of a guy.
No, and he's not the kind of guy you want to mess with either.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of a good guy, I want to give a shout out to Gerald.
LS Tungsten.
Yes, a good friend of Temecula Bob's, and Gerald doesn't say much, but he's been battling health challenges. And Ed, I know recently you had some. I want to give a shout out to Sharon. Hope she's going to start feeling better. And to Christina. It's like in the midst of all this fun stuff. Like I'm turning 60, and every time my phone rings or I open up an email, it's about someone's health, and you got to keep that in check, I guess. And
We are of that age,
yeah,
Yeah, well, wait till you're 76.
well, let's hope,
You
right?
have no idea.
Hey, they say
what
if you can get through the
know.
60s, you've got some life, and hell, you guys are all good inspiration for me. Anyways, you were the fast guy. I mentioned, and what I tried to do is describe in my own view your roles in the 1% Club, and I was kind of pointing to you, Paul, as kind of like the not the den mother, but the quarterback of the club, kind of the leader. And I referred to Mac. For those of you who know Mac, his Mac Fests are iconic, and both Paul and Mac had a lot to do with much of the event activities that took place, particularly here in SoCal. And to me, SoCal stirs the drink. I'm sorry. Even in a time where you can't have fucking straws out here, we were still the straw that stirred the drink because, like so many things, what happens in the mini bike hobby, it originates here. And Paul had his Mac Fest. Or excuse me, Paul had his
Mac had
Fun
a
Fest.
Mac,
Yes.
Mac had
yes.
the Mac Fest.
The Fun Days.
Fun Days.
Paul had. And Mac had the Mac Fest, which had been something that I remember even knowing of it when the recycler was around, right?
That was Guardrail Dave's idea, MacFest.
Talk
I
about
never
that.
even thought of that.
So you're Guardrail Dave. Did you ever want to tell anybody what your real name is?
No.
Okay. And for those of you who would like to, if you're online and you'd like to post a comment or a question for any of the guys on the podcast, send them in. And we'll take a look at the comments. Justin Eichler is actually looking at some of the comments as they come in. We'll look at them during the break. Well, you've got him doing so
look
much.
at your phone.
Justin's here helping out. Thank you again, Justin, for helping out in so many ways. But Justin's going to be looking at some of the comments. We're also going to be giving away, in addition to the
Oh,
stage.
wait a minute. That picture you put on was going to be your helper, your assistant tonight. Was that a picture of...
That was the young Justin Eichler. Yes.
Oh,
It
shit.
certainly was.
Okay.
It certainly was. I found that photo on.
Who's this kid?
I found it on his Facebook page, and I thought Ed would love it if I posted it up
I
there.
didn't see it.
Well, you're not keeping up. So we're giving away a T-shirt from the gang at Muscle Minibike Build Off. Joe Petralia and Justin Bett and all those guys, they recently had their first build off, which went pretty well. A guy over at GoPowerSports.com had that really nice custom white bike. Photos are still out there. Just check them out online. Joe's got some T-shirts that he's been promoting, and we're going to be giving away one of those as well tonight. Those of you who have some comments about that competition, it's tough to do competition. It's a fucking thankless task. They pulled it off. So if you've got something positive that you'd like to talk about or mention about that event, this would be the time to do it, and we'll give away one of their T-shirts. I'll take a shameless plug here and bring up the fact that we have an announcement and a date for Joe's Minibike Reunion. It's the 8th annual Joe's Minibike Reunion. It's the 19th of October. and it's at CV Park in beautiful La Crescenta. You can check out the Facebook page for more of the updated information. That's usually our go-to way of communicating. Emmanuel's been busy doing a lot of other things, and we'll hope to update the website. There'll be an opportunity for you to pre-register. I suggest that everybody pre-register, and if you have questions about hotels, you can call the phone number, which is on the Facebook page. I don't have a specific headquarter hotel, only because there's not a lot of them in where we are located in this La Crescenta foothill area. So there's nothing locally that I can promote. I do suggest the Westin in Pasadena, and I also suggest some of the hotels that are adjacent to the Burbank Airport, particularly that Marriott. I know many of you like to have a place where you can like roll your bike into the room. I did that in Las Vegas at the Westgate, and I pulled it off. And I got caught on the way out. And there was a security guard that worked there for 40 years and no one had ever gotten a fucking mini bike or motorcycle inside that hotel. And I did. So I know it's tough to do. And you're not me, so you're not going to be able to. What you guys want are what they call motels. Remember those? You back into the spot and you open up the fucking trunk and you open up the door and it's right there. And you could put a dead body in there. You could put fucking kilos of heroin. You could put anything you want in there, including mini bikes. Those motels lurk on Colorado Boulevard in Glendale and in Pasadena. And I don't know that you want to stay there.
That's
right?
kind of the red light district.
That's where they find anchormen that are on meth.
That's where they rent by the hour.
Okay, that's where they rent. But so I don't have an official headquarters. Some folks like to stay at particular hotels. Joe Petralia from the Arizona Minibike Riders likes a specific place. It's called the Safari Inn. By all means, if you guys want to get together and go, what I just don't do is hang my hat on it. So it's a host hotel or it's the official anything. We just don't do that because it's liability. And I don't want to be responsible for you guys from the fucking time you drive from your house in Alaska to my show and then go home because I'm liable for your sorry ass from the time you leave to the time you get home. So I don't promote any hotels. Stay wherever you want. If I had more space, you could stay with us. All right. With all that nonsense aside, you're the fastest. You're the leader. You're the collector. Bill, how did you take all of these spinning orbits and just go so focused on the tacos?
It just happened when I was a kid. I had a Taco mini bike and had one ever since.
What was it? What was the first one?
A Taco 44.
So and how did you get that? Was it your brother's bike? Did you save up and buy that
I went down
thing?
to Steen's and bought it right out of Steen's showroom floor.
How did?
I was so nervous I could not get out of the car to get it. So I sent my brother in to pick out a bike for me.
And you knew the color you wanted. You know the engine
no,
size.
color is purple.
Okay, and it had the 3 horsepower with the silver.
44 with shocks in the rear.
Briggs and Stratton.
Yes. And
So there you are.
shaking like a leaf outside as my brother goes inside and picks out the bike for me.
So now he's rolling that thing out of the store, and now what? You're crying, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, I'm in tears. I'm like shaking.
Can you
I'm
jump out of the
almost
car
fainting.
then?
I was already outside the car.
All right, so
just
wait.
watching him through the windows.
So he comes out. He's rolling the bike. When did you grab it from him? When did you sit on it? What?
We just got it, put it back in my dad's car, took it home. We only lived like a mile and a half from the place. Started up and went up and down and didn't get off for hours.
What'd you pay for it?
It was like $169. I think my mom and dad paid for it, something like that. Wow. But yeah, I used to go there all the time. It was only like a mile and a half.
So prior to that, had you had anything besides a bicycle?
No,
Was
just
this-
bikes, bicycles, and it went from bicycles just to that.
So how did you? How was it that you were able to not only convince your parents to buy this thing for you, but how was it that you decided on the Taco? Was it because that was just the bike?
Everybody in the neighborhood had Taco mini bikes.
No other bikes.
No
Tacos.
other bikes.
Yeah.
They kick your ass if you had another bike.
And when
if you had
they
a
were-
Bonanza, out of here. Cat mini bike, out of here.
No,
old were you?
that's what I was going to ask you.
Huh?
How old were you?
I was 11.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so you make the right move.
The best move I ever made.
Now you go from what? Kind of the quiet guy to the cool guy because you got a mini bike? Was that kind of the deal too, or?
Everybody just had them. We all drove around. You go to school, grammar school at the time, and they got them, and you got them, and everybody's got them.
So now you're riding your mini bike
Yeah, all over the street.
to school.
No, couldn't do that.
Oh, got it.
I went to parochial school. They didn't allow that.
What
Yeah.
city did you grow up in?
El Sereno.
El Sereno.
So you would run home probably to get that mini
Oh, yeah.
bike, right? Every
My
day.
mom would pick us up at school at lunchtime, drive us home, ride the mini bike. take us back
Just to get your
school.
fix?
So our lunchtime will be riding the mini bike.
Oh. Is your mom still with us?
No, she's passed now.
Well, you can still thank her now.
Oh, yeah.
So then you take you
I
and let
used
you
to
ride that.
brainwash them, so at night they'd be sleeping in their bed. I'll go over there. I want a Taco 44. I want a Taco 44. I don't know how long I did that for, but then I ended up getting one.
Well, the joke's on you because they fucking brainwash you. It's like,
so
how am I
where'd you
going to
see- where'd
get
you
this
see your
fucking
first
kid to do anything? It's like, buy him a mini bike, right?
Where'd you see your first picture?
The picture.
In the magazines,
In the
right?
magazine. What magazine did you scope your first taco out at?
Well, Taco, it's funny you bring that up. Taco, depending on what you were reading, right? The choices
Yeah.
that we had were the car books, the buff books, right? Rod and Custom particularly, but Hot Rod, maybe a couple others. And
Boy's Life.
Yeah, Boys Life, those little teaser ads, fucking hated that when they sell those plans to make your own for $2. And now you think you could have one for $2? Like,
Yeah.
I got that. It's like, you ain't got shit. You just got the plans. I remember sending away for those $2 plans. I had 2 tubes that held $50 of quarters on one stack and another 50. And I had them like my bed here, and I had them on the wall, and it's like, man, I could barely see the top, let alone. And I would throw a few token quarters in there, but it was going to be forever to get half of one of those. There's no way I'm fucking getting a mini bike. So fortunately, we had parents that helped out.
Yes.
I had a little help as well, and I also saved a little bit. And I didn't quite go into my room and fucking put them in a trance like you did, but I did spike their food with. Anyways, but I got one too, and I'm happy for that because we joke around the fact that there's 2 types of parents: those that allowed their kids to have mini bikes, and those who knew better. There was just one of those things. There was no either or. So you got into tacos because it was the thing to do. You were in SoCal.
Well, my cousin Mike influenced me. This is like in 63, 64.
Your older cousin?
My older cousin, yeah, Michael, and my cousin Gary, they influenced me.
What's Mike's last name?
Gonzalez.
Is he still around?
Oh, yeah.
Give him a shout out.
Yeah.
So Mike had what? What did he have? The Taco 100 or the?
He had a Taco with a 2-stroke engine.
Oh.
He came up the street. I go, what the hell is that? Oh, I gotta have one.
What would that be? What 2-stroke would be in that?
That would be like the AH-47.
Ah, okay,
That would be
sure.
The first Taco.
Evil Ed.
Similar to these.
Yeah. Speaking of, we got a couple motors here. What do we see in front of us? Who brought these?
Well, I brought them for Ed.
Yeah, so Ed, that's right, Ed's new score from Taco Bell. Ed, tell us what we've got here.
AH-58s.
Now, you were showing one on a Facebook post recently. Could it have been this one?
They were both on there.
Yeah, okay, great. So give folks a little bit of an idea what we have in front of. These are some pretty rare little screaming 2-strokes, huh, Ed?
Yeah, I have one in the first 50 Bonanza that I have. So I have plans for that one. I'm going to put in another lightning bolt Bonanza.
And you got
that's
these
supposed
from-
to be built up a little bit. It's got a high compression head.
It's got the Alky carb on it.
Yeah, it's
I
got
see
an
that for
alcohol
those of you.
carburetor.
Paul, maybe you could just move that Scat Kitty product there. I can see that new car on there. You got a little
Header.
little exhaust header on there.
Can you see it? I don't know.
Yeah, we can see these. So, how nice for you to help a brother out over here. It's not like you're selling a lot of parts. You're the collector machine, Taco Bill. How is
I'm
it?
trying to catch up with Mac.
So,
Yeah,
Ed,
Mac has probably sold 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
Ed, have you had your eyes on these engines or the?
No, I just found out about them yesterday.
Okay, and what do they say? The early bird gets the worm, so to speak.
Yeah, well, Justin told me that he had some for sale.
Nice.
So
See there,
I lagged on it. I was busy, and then I got a text from him, said he had some for sale.
Well, I know that you always take care of him, and I think you sending Justin a couple $100 is pretty cool of you. Anyways,
Joe, do you know about Bill's taco collection? It's worth stating.
we thank you, Paul. Thanks for keeping me on track as well. Taco Bill, who's in the Apple Valley now, and we were joking about what a perfect little backdrop that is for you, huh?
Oh, yes.
You know, you get to keep all your jalopies out there, and I know
Hot
that.
rods and Taco mini bikes.
And I see you're still out there collecting all those parts.
Oh, yeah. Never stop. I
So-
just turned Justin into a bunch of parts.
Well, he had a good head start too. Taco Bill has in his possession every taco frame I believe, that exists in terms of what they produced. Whether it's from their first year of production to their last year of production. His scope goes beyond Taco. It includes, obviously, Steen, and he probably has close to, if not every frame, but most of the associated parts. The very rare wheels, the very rare compatible components that go with all these bikes. And all of them are in some state of either originality or some sense of being. And I don't know that anybody else can really say that. Have you run across anybody with that ability
Not
to say
that many, no.
Yeah. And your last one that you needed to complete the collection, we were talking about that, I think, the last time you were on the podcast. Let's look back at that. What was that last rare one that you needed to seek out?
It was probably the Matterhorn, I believe.
Right. I think that was the one.
F85 Matterhorn.
And how did you find that?
Through some friend of mine called me up and said, hey, there's one up here for sale. And he gave me the number, and I called, and the guy said, yeah, I still got it. I go, I'm coming up and buying it.
And that was a few-hour drive. You and the bride went up there, didn't
That
you?
was an 8-hour drive. Got it, picked it up, looked at it, got goosebumps, and put it in the back of my truck, and came home.
Isn't that something?
So
Joe, if I'm not mistaken, because this is the way I was introduced to him, he has every model from every year. So if they built it every year for 5 years, he had one the same every year.
Yes.
And we've been lucky, those of us who have had that insight or have been on social media have had the chance to see, in some shape or form, photos of your collection.
Mm-hmm.
For those folks who just came down from a spaceship who had never heard of it before, what would be the easiest way for them to get a little glimpse of the depth of your collection and maybe see some of the photos? Is it on your Facebook page?
Go on Facebook under Taco Bill's Garage.
Taco Bill's Garage.
Yeah.
Now, how is it that some KABC, KTLA reporter hasn't sought you out knowing about that collection? And how is it that you haven't gotten yet to that?
I'm pretty low key.
Yeah, you are.
I mean, yeah, I don't.
But word gets around. I mean, those,
Yeah.
and even now with the podcast, those Taco mini bikes and that depth of your collection, you're like in museum quality range. At some point, more than a few cottage folks in the industry are going to want to have a chance to find out and see what you have there. That could be something worth sharing as well. That could be a draw for like a guy like me that has a mini bike show to be able to see some of your collection on display. So maybe that's something we could talk about, because at some point, right now you get to walk in the garage anytime and see all of them. Those guys out there watching and listening, they would probably die to just get a glimpse. And the depth of your power plants. It's not like you just have the frames there. How
I
many?
got everything, yeah.
Don't you hate hearing that, everybody? He's got fucking everything. What do you got over there?
Well, when Mac had his yard sales, after that, we used to go to my house after the yard sale and have pizza and look at all the bikes and
Yeah,
The
Have a
post,
good time there.
the post Mac Fest.
yes, yeah.
I was hoping when you moved out where you live,
Then
the
you-
Lone Ranger thing, I mean, the Roy Rogers thing is sort of passe. That maybe you could take that place over and be Taco Bill's.
It'll get there. It'll get there. It's gonna take
So
time.
when you moved out there, did you take all the drywall off the bathroom?
No, I left it there.
all of
I took pictures of.
Okay.
So you could see what probably went on in those booths over at Bob Big Boys. A lot of just, like you said it, it's pretty obvious, Joe. We talked about mini bikes, and whether it led to who owned them or who bought them, who got a good deal or a bad deal, or who was fast or who could paint. It's the Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast, brought to you by Pioneer Car Audio. We've got a few shout outs here that we'll get to as we close down. My spidey senses tell me we're getting close to first half break. We got a little bit more to go.
5 minutes.
Great. See? Just comes to me, Ed. Thank all of our sponsors. I'm going to give a couple shout outs to Ed. Why don't you start? It's on the left there.
Mickey Quintero, Rob Shearer, Dewey Sears, Jermaine Vanover, Stefan Van Zant, Linda Hargrave, Tony Green, Colt Lutz, Brian Young, Bryce Fisher, Maurice Turner, Kevin Hoover, Dennis Pruitt, Lex Maria, Guillermo Alcantar,
Alcantaro. When I can't
Shane
spell it, I
Kersey,
sing it.
Jim Morgan, Blake B. Burrins, Clint Connor, Jason Totive, Daryl Johnson, Gerard Starkney, Austin Minasco, John Skipper, Daniel,
Yeah, call him Danielle. Maybe he's going gender neutral. Who the fuck knows?
Denial, Denial Locklear, Corey Talerco, Warren Young, Petri.
Yeah, that sounds
Pettery?
good. Give him his own name, Ed.
Pettery Krunich, Doug Hoskins, Mike Harris, Bryson Horwath, Chris Grigianti, Omar Diaz, Mike Hughes, Corona Irving.
Hey, we also have his grip, Ed.
Oh,
Corona
yeah,
Irving, we
yeah.
still have your grip.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Linda Hargrave, happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, Linda Hargrave, and say hello to Joe. And I put a few notes on there. We did talk about the fact that at the Antelope Valley, you can check out more on Built Mini Bikes Instagram page, but it's the AV drag shootout for $1,000, small block shootout. And I don't have the date, but we'll have it for you shortly. It's happening sometime in June. I want to say a couple weeks from now. Fredo, Jake Moe, My J. See, I finally said it right. I used to call him Midgie. They're all going to be out there. A lot of the guys from SoCal are going to come up to AV. It's going to be a fun time. Rafa from GTS is going to be promoting it. It's a tournament for small block guys, $1,000 pool. Could be worth going up there. Maybe Ed, you and I will go up there. All I know is no one beat me last time I was out there. They didn't give me $1,000. I'm always a day late and $1 short. And I'm too afraid to go that fast again. So maybe that bonanza that you and Guardrail Dave are working on, I want to go out there and see if we get a little piece.
It's running. It's
Want to
ready.
get a little piece of that money?
Maybe.
Oh, so whoa, wait a minute. Do I detect? Oh, got it. I missed the obvious. So we'll see a few folks at the upcoming AV ride. Hey, there was a big race that took place.
Break out the old blouse.
Thank you, Ed. You did a very good job at that. There's fucking pages of these things.
That's going to be fast.
These names. Thank you, Paul.
We rolled it already.
Hey,
I rode the go-kart version.
so we got a couple engines here. Ed's scoops from Taco Bill. Very cool. You brought... What's the story behind the taco clutch cover?
Okay, so it's polished taco cover is just cool to start with,
Got it?
but on the inside, if you look,
Yeah.
E has the pictures. But what's it say in there? Who's that taco cover made for?
Wow, personalized for Guardrail
Guardrail Dave taco cover.
In the Clark USA.
Oh, Dave Clark did, or
Is that a
Jeff-
model number
Jeff
up
Clark
there,
did that.
up above? But what
Yeah.
a nice piece.
So yeah, Jeff Clark, OMB member. I don't know if he still makes it, but he made that for me and have put my name in there as a surprise.
I got to tell you what,
That's good.
when you think about what you bolt on a bike and the statement that it makes, wheels do it. But when something is as front and center as a clutch cover on a really well-built engine, it says a lot about the bike. This is something that really is nice.
And
Awesome.
that-
Is
talking
that,
about Bill's collection,
yeah.
he set one aside for me. Super Taco number SO21.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So that will be going on the
Super 100.
Super 100 I got from
Awesome.
Bill.
And Dave, I know, and I can hear it in your voice. that-
Your race bike?
No,
Oh, another one.
That's
Oh,
another
okay.
one he
Another
put
one.
aside for me.
How cool is that
okay.
for you, Dave, knowing that as you put these bikes together, the origin of these parts? I mean, beyond the coolness, I mean, how much...
Well, shoot, just getting a Super Taco out of Bill was pretty amazing. and he called me up and offered it to me, so I said, yeah, I got to take it if you're going to let me have one.
And how nice is it to not only get it, but then have it on something that you get to enjoy with guys who really appreciate it as well.
Right.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see that bolted on something that'll be at the upcoming Joe's Minibike Reunion. It's going to be a special place for you guys, and we congratulated you earlier, Paul. Once again, I want to congratulate you on being inducted into the Minibike Hall of Fame. This is our 8th year of the event and our 8th year of the Hall of Fame. And a little bit later on in the podcast, we're going to have an announcement about another inductee into the Hall of Fame that will be joining you. So that could be pretty cool. And hopefully he's listening now. If not, it'll be something that he'll find out about tomorrow. And that'll be pretty cool. We'll have 2 awesome folks into the Minibike Hall of Fame. There were a couple of events that took place recently. One of them I wanted to bring up was the Brass Knuckles event that took place at Ubly, the track out in Michigan. I want to give a shout out to all of our guys back in Michigan. It was produced by a young guy. His name is Garrett Curtis. He's got a site on Facebook called Brass Knuckle Racing. Young guy. I watch some of his videos. I watch some of his posts. Fucking love it.
You're
It's like-
saying young.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I know it. Tough. Everybody's young. Everybody's young to us. I want to see the guys like maybe in his early teens.
Really?
Yeah, right. Putting on, courting guys to come out, promoting guys twice his age to come out, bring your bike, let's go drag racing, doing the pre-promotion out of the track. He's got a little small engine shop that I think he works with his family, but he's just out there making shit happen. We sent him a handful of T-shirts and decals to give away, and he pulled it off. One guy who did pretty well, but also took a little spill. I wanted to bring up. There's a video out there. What's the guy's name? Clint Connor. Clint Connor took a pass down the drag strip and wound up, like so many of us, sideways instead of on the rubber. But he survived, and so did the event. They pulled it off. I want to give anybody who starts a mini bike event in any capacity support. So congratulations for pulling it off, especially at such a young age. Whatever we can do to help out. I know Brad DeMoise's got his event that's upcoming. And then the king of mini bike events is Jeff Mahalko. A familiar name to some of you, but for those of you who may not know him by name, he's the founder of the Minibike Minibike Reunion, which is the granddaddy of all this shit. The Minibike event in Pennsylvania, which Ed, you've been to, Dave, you've been to, Paul, you've been to. I think that's it. Those of us who haven't had the chance yet to go, and it's Father's Day. I don't know if it's always Father's Day, Ed.
It's always Father's
It's always
Day.
Father's Day, okay? So Karen Kraus. Hi, Karen. How are you? I know she likes to go to bed early. She stays up late for us, though, because of you.
Yeah.
Because of you. Although I think the gasket dude's got
She
a little...
texted me last week. Isn't the podcast tonight? And I said,
Here's how it went.
I said, no.
We had a change, and all I do is, like, it's not like I posted 3 times. We had issues far more important than this stupid podcast come up with our production team that we were unable to do the 15th podcast where Jeff and Tate Morgan, who put on the Gambler 500 up in Portland this past weekend, where they had mobs of mini bikes out there racing around. Oh, it's a great video. You got to see it. And this guy, Tate Morgan, like, type in Tate in Google. You can't even get to the second T in fucking Tate, and his name pops up. And what they're doing out there, not only with the cars, but with the mini bikes is great. So I was trying to have both Tate and Jeff on the show this past 15th of May. And we had to change the date. So Emmanuel kind of leads the ship here, and he tells us what dates he's going to be available, and we try to accommodate that. So before the show's over, we'll probably have the date for the next podcast, and that's where Jeff Mahalko, the guy who sits on the top of the mini bike events, he'll be on there telling us about how all that started and how 20 plus years went by so quick, which I think they'll be enjoying at Minibike this year. It's on Father's Day. There's plenty of time for you guys to get involved and go. And from what I hear, the riding, the parade, the camaraderie.
Ride all day. Ride all day.
Ride all day.
Ride all day.
Ed went out there and was very well received. The people there are very accommodating. If everybody is kind of like Jeff and Karen, it'd be a good time.
Well, they're all friendly.
But here's the thing. Like, it's been raining in Pennsylvania since like 2008. Right? Literally. And it's the same thing in Michigan, and it's the same weather. It's the same weather. So they've had enough rain. It's not going to rain anymore. So make your plans. It's Father's Day. It's upcoming. It's dry. It's going to be, if anything, just bring bug spray, because they have some fucking black flies there that take like flesh out of you. But that's going to be a good time. We're going to have Jeff on the next podcast, and we're going to have Tate Morgan from the Gambler 500. And both of those guys are going to give us the behind the scenes about not only how those events started, but why you're going to want to make plans to be a part of it. Hey, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and you're not going to want to miss the second half. You've seen some of the parts out there. And actually, before we break, is that a Scat Kitty seat that you have there, Paul?
Yes, sir.
That is one of a slew, and I say slew, but Paul has a bin of about 4 or 5 parts, and he's got a part that I can't share with you now, but we'll share it on the second half. It's a part that I'm certain you have never seen before. Tell us a little bit about that Scat Kitty seat that you have there, Paul. But as we wrap up here, you've become from the Scat Kitty collector to the Scat Kitty man. Give us a quick idea of what's happening with you and what's the big thing with the Scat Kitty.
There's a hot rod builder in Arizona that started doing these parts.
Who's that?
Tom Miskey. But he burned out on, he's not a mini biker, and he and I have known each other for quite a while. And a couple months ago we made a deal, and now I'm going to be selling all this stuff. He pretty much created all this. He has the guys over in Arizona that are actually doing all the fabrication. The seat is made by one of his guys.
What a piece.
Yeah.
It looks like it's off of a Suzuki or a Yamaha or Ducati for that
It
matter.
is a perfect copy of the original seat, even down to the piping. This thing, it's beautiful and it looks pretty simple, but the one thing about these Scat Kitty parts, there's no way to candy coat this. They're expensive.
Without a doubt. And
They're
for
expensive.
Paul, for those folks who may not be familiar with the Scat Kitty model, I think we've got some photos that we'll be able to show.
How much for the tinted one?
What was the heritage behind that Scat Kitty? It was a smaller powered mini bike that also had a companion
It has
to
an
it.
aluminum frame that's about 5 inches wide. There's no other bike ever built like it.
Okay.
And it's tiny, just big enough to get the motor inside that frame. The frame and everything's so small that they used Schwinn riser bars, but it isn't like this. They're still down here because the bike is so tiny. It is one of the most clever engineered mini bikes ever. I mean, it's
Were they Clinton powered Panther engines? What were inside? What did they stuff in there?
A 2.5 Tecumseh.
2.5. I didn't know that 2.5
Yeah.
Tecumsehs existed.
Side
Really?
pooper.
Little side
Ah,
yeah.
really? It'd be nice to see
And-
some photos of that. Yeah,
And they made a matching sidecar.
I see.
They were made in Dayton, Ohio, and the Shriners in Dayton were the first ones to discover them. And today, a lot of Shriners posts own lots of Scat Kitties. I'm in touch with the Dayton guys. They have 75 Scat Kitties.
Sure.
The Shriners do.
Well, let's hear from you, Scat Kitty folks that are out there. It's Minibike Paul. In addition to the Scat Kitty product line, you're showing you the seat now. We'll break out some other cool products that he's working on. But Paul's also your direct connect for the water transfer decals. Whether it's the assorted Tecumseh, Briggs & Stratton applications, something about having those new air filter decals or the horsepower designation, the ones with the flags or the balloons. He's got them all. How can folks find out a little bit more about not only digging deep on the Scat Kitties, but find out about those water transfer decals? I've got something here.
Decals or
you
duck
could-
cows?
We used to fight about this a lot on OMB.
What is it, decals or
Duck cows.
decals? No. Decals.
Paul used to
I
say.
say decals.
No, you did. You say duck cows.
Well, they work. I purchased a
They're
Taco
decals.
100 recently.
Duck cows.
What do you call them, Justin? Decals. Yeah, thanks. For those of us who are just old school, it's just.
Decals.
Let me ask you something: is it vaginal or vaginal? Sorry.
MinibikePaul.com.
MinibikePaul.com. There you go.
Or
Or
you can go to eBay and type in Minibike Paul and everything will pop up. And
so let me give you a little bit of experience on these decals. When you buy them, like I buy parts, and isn't it funny how we just can't wait to order the parts, and we wait for them like rabid kids, and they come, and then we put them in the fucking garage, and they sit for 3 weeks, and it's like I got to put on that chain cover, I got to put on that chain. It's like, and it waits, and you wait, and you wait. Now it's been you waited for it like a kid for 48 hours, and now it's gonna sit. Well, I did that with some decals that Evil Ed and I were going to put on a tire. It was the Fiberlock bike, and we had letters. We were trying to emulate that yellow lettering on NASCAR tires. It was a NASCAR-themed bike. It was the green Fiberlock bike, for those of you. What was that, a Rutman that we took apart and ruined? Anyways, I bought the decals, and I let them stay in my garage, and they got dry. They got hard. and it was tough. So when you get these, I'm sure you're probably aware of them, but put them someplace where where they don't dry out, because by the time you want to get around to using them, they just don't. Anyways, enough about that.
Yeah.
Joe's Minibike Reunion Podcast. We're going to take a break. We'll see you at about 10. We'll try not to kill you with the commercials. We've got a couple cool ones from Pioneer and CRC. For those of you who want to find out more about the event, you can go to the website. You can go to the Facebook page. And we'll be right back with the 1%ers from the San Fernando Valley. Thanks for listening. Tell a friend.
New from the makers of legendary Brake Clean, the Shop Size Brake Clean Pro Series. The larger Pro Size can has 50% more of the brake clean you've trusted for over 47 years. Also available in 3 non-chlorinated formulas.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to a somewhat chilly SoCal. We're the balcony of Southern California, they call us here in La Crescenta. The balcony. I like that. We're freezing the tips of our fingers off, but it's still warm.
Look at Mac. Mac's in a t-shirt.
Mac's in a t-shirt. Well, Mac's old school. So is Cliff.
Cliff's in a t-shirt.
Well, there's...
freezing my ass off.
All right, so we're going to get through it. This is the second half. I want to welcome everybody. Thanks for sticking through the break. We ran a little bit longer because there's just a lot. There's a few more of us here. For those of you who had sent in comments, thank you. There's still plenty of time for you to send in comments. For any of the folks that are on the DOSIS, is that what they call it? And you have a chance to reach out to Minibike Paul, flanked by Mac, Cliff, Judd. We have Edwin, and despite what Charles Mini Drag Bike suggested, Edwin Mirto certainly is in the house. Edwin, you got back into the game. We talked about it at the break. You bought a Bonanza.
Yes.
Why did you get back in the game, and how did you immediately go to the Bonanza?
I've just from the get-go, I just had a thing for Bonanzas. I love their engineering and just their bikes in general. And knowing Ed being the guru of Bonanza and working with Dave and Ed, back when we were heavily into I call it the game,
Sure, it is.
I really don't remember how I was just thumbing through Facebook and a mini bike popped up, a Bonanza frame, in fact, and I just went and picked it up down in LA, and the first thing I called was Ed and Dave, just searching for parts, and sure enough, I got it up and running. Come from Ed's yesterday.
Oh, cool!
And it's in the back of my truck as we speak right now.
Yeah. Well, we were hoping to capture. The guys brought a lot of parts. In fact, when I first walked out there, everybody was huddled around the pickup truck, and there was a mini bike frame in there. There was some all kinds of clutch covers and a dock of parts. This stuff, I hate to say it to those of you who don't see it a lot, it's everywhere here, and these guys have a lot of the cool parts. we'll circle more back and talk to you a little bit more about that, Edwin. Off to my right, we've got Evil Ed, Taco Bill, Guardrail Dave. Now, Guardrail Dave, you and Ed had been working on that Bonanza. It was what's the status of that OMB build that you guys were working on for those folks who haven't been following along?
Our build is finished. We posted the run. Ed raced it down at Anna Street in Compton.
Oh, that was a few weeks ago, right, Ed?
Yes.
So what happened there?
We just was testing it out.
And how'd it do?
It did all right.
Yeah. Did you get on it?
Yeah, I got on it a little bit, yeah.
Okay. And Dave, you're watching.
Not for a long time. I was still trying to get used to it because of the rake.
Were they pointing the gun at you? You get a sense of what you were doing?
No,
You're doing
We didn't
Didn't
have a
have a
radar
gun.
out there that day.
Did it feel 60? Did it feel 62, 65?
Looked like it.
Yeah? Yeah.
Looked like
I
it.
would
Good.
say, yeah. But like I said, I was just testing, trying to get the feel of it.
And what are
It
your...
does have a lot of rake in it. It's got like 34 degrees in it.
You looked good on that bike. It's that long frame. You did a good job on that, both of you guys. What kind of reception did you get with the guys down at Anna Street?
Everybody liked it.
Yeah. What was it? Was it the frame?
The frame, the engine, the clutch covers, the valve, everything on that bike's just cool.
The Bonanza Brotherhood badge?
The badge is on there.
Awesome. Next to you, Ed, is a little something that Cliff Judd Neck handed off to me on the top of the driveway, and I'm glad that
Chain's a little tight.
that's what she said. And it is it's a formidable little piece there that it's got 60, 70 pounds written on it. At least that's what it felt like. And it's everything from a connecting rod to from a Mack truck to a timing gear, a couple camshafts, a couple open-end wrenches, a chain.
Clutch shell.
Awesome. And Cliff, I want to do something special with this, and you had some ideas about it. First of all, nice job of putting this thing together. Beyond just breaking balls, that's a pretty well-engineered piece because it's so heavy. It's got to be right, or it's not going to work. You got a little talent behind that.
And that heavy stuff's in my blood.
Yes.
I've only been doing it for 45 years, so.
So is this an example of maybe a few other similar styled things that you just put together when you got time?
Yeah,
Cool. What other cool little things you have, son?
it's fun. Oh, just mostly my mini bikes.
Yeah. Well, this is a cool piece. What do you want to do with this?
I was thinking more along the lines that we'd use it for kind of like the Stanley Cup of the Joe's Minibike Reunion Hall of Famers. Build a little base for it so you can put plaques around it.
So that the Stanley Cup, obviously in hockey, is that the championship team gets to carry that thing everywhere they go until someone takes it from them, right? Or someone earns it.
Exactly.
Well, we have two, typically, that we induct into the Hall of Fame. I think we could begin this year by letting this one rotate with it. So, Paul.
I'll be glad to take it home. Put it in my car.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to showcase it here on the podcast leading up to the event, and we'll bring it to, obviously, the show on the, when's the event, Ed?
The 19th.
October 19th. For those of you who are asking about the date,
2019.
CV Park in La Crescenta. We'll have that there, and we'll also share that with another inductee into the Hall of Fame, which we'll announce a little bit in the a little bit later on in the podcast. I have a couple shout outs that I wanted to just do before we got heavy into the second half. I began working recently with these folks from Bonnier. My friend Peter McGillivray, who I worked with at SEMA. We're now working with two dynamic events that have been long-standing here in SoCal. It's the Off-Road Expo in Pomona, and it's the Sand Sport Super Show, which takes place at the Orange County Fairgrounds. The names speak for themselves. The Off-Road Expo is everything and anything for guys who like to go off-roading, and Sand Sports is really targeted at that burgeoning market of UTVs and all these cool Polaris and all these desert racing vehicles that, man, I see what they're doing. It's dynamic. So if you're in power sports and sand, it's the Sand Sport Super Show. If you like off-roading, it's the Off-Road Expo. And I'm very happy to be working with all the guys on the Bonnier team. My buddy Jerry Pitt, who used to be an editor on Hot Rod, as well as some of our friends that are part of the old team, Melissa and Jonathan. So I just want to give those guys a shout out. Shout out to Corey, Miranda, Christina, Temecula Bob, Jake Moe, Mike Spataro, Gail, my buddy Jim Savis, and my brother-in-law Marv. All right, we got that We got a few more shout outs from some folks who have recently liked the Joe's Minibike Reunion Facebook page. I think we have like 3,000. When we started, we had 300. And they're all real. Like, we didn't buy anybody's names. I don't talk about it. I don't ask you to like the Facebook page. We usually don't. But if you'd like to, you can. All we do is feed that Facebook page with upcoming information, usually about the event or the podcast. There's not too much else on there. If you got any suggestions or you'd like to see more bikes, I love what they do with the Built Minibikes Instagram page. There's some other pages that you guys are pretty aware of that we all frequent. Muscle Mini Bikes, the Build Off page, Minibike Nation. I've been using OMB, Houston Mini Bikes, Arizona Mini Bike Riders. There's more upon more, and if you listen to every other one that everybody else suggests, there's literally 1,000 of those Facebook pages out there. So if you're into mini bikes, there's a lot of opportunities for you to find out about them online. We're joesminibikereunion.com, as well as the Facebook page, Joe's Minibike Reunion. Enough about that. Okay, so we had a question from Karen Krause, and Karen is one of the brighter lights in this group. She's curious about crashes, and we've all had them. In fact, I often joke about the fact that when you find a fellow mini biker, the first thing you do is compare scars. Edwin, for some reason, I see you eating a few spills. What was the one that has you still happy that you lived through it?
I was laughing particularly at when I remembered when I sold Minibike Paul. I just sold him a bike, and I think.
So you saw Minibike Paul. What was it?
The Torque Monster.
Yeah, that one. And,
Torque converter.
Yeah, it was
the
a
Torque
it was a
Monster
13
was called.
horsepower I believe it was a Bonanza frame with a a custom aftermarket type of swing arm off some other bike. And
Like on a BC 1400 or something, Ed, or
Well,
Was it stretched?
It was a
Stretched
1300.
4 inches.
a 1300
I
modified.
don't remember.
So you had a
Do you
13
still
horse.
have that, Paul?
No.
No, that's why you
Did
can't turn to
sell
the
it?
left anymore.
Or did I have it? I don't
No, I
remember.
bought it from you.
And then you
We
had-
kept it for a while. That was a
And
pretty nasty
the bike had so much torque. Paul and me were riding through the fields over there in Camarillo. The bike had so much torque that it spun the wheel inside the tire and took the stem off the inner tube.
So what happened, Edwin?
I just remember I just sold it to Paul and I pretty much crashed it and
After you sold it to him?
I believe so. I remember at Tony C's house, I believe. And
Who's Tony C?
wait, is it Tony? Not Tony C.
James C.
James C.
Oh, James C. Yeah, sure. What's happening,
Well,
James?
right
up there by the power line.
Newhall. Yeah.
but
Oh,
it was
yeah.
on top of that hill there, and
James took a good one coming down.
okay, yeah.
Remember?
yeah,
Like, what's a good one? Like broken teeth or broken bikes or no? Just.
Road rash.
Yeah,
Sure.
pretty much.
And how about you, Nick? You had a spill that seems like you're happy to live.
Gosh, I don't think I've had a get off.
Yeah.
Oh,
That doesn't
you're due.
fall.
Yeah, I'm pretty
No,
strategic
I don't-
about it.
Oh,
I
wait a
don't
minute.
think
You were,
I've had-
you were testing a bike over at Paul's shop, and it was Dave's bike, and you dropped it.
I
at
dropped
the end.
it. I dropped one at the end of the
Yeah,
driveway.
yeah.
Just the back tire came up, but that was like a 2-mile-an-hour turn. I mean, it just kind of fell.
Got
down.
it. All right.
Fell down.
But-
I haven't really had a get off.
So far, so good for you. Mac, most of the bikes that I see you, like, I recently posted some photos that were sent to me, and the ones that I have, usually you're just like, you're like in some 2.5 horsepower little.
Yeah,
You-
there's
I don't
something to cruise.
Yeah, so I don't see you like taking a lot of spills, have you?
Never been into speed, never been into racing, just cruising around. Family kind of guy. Taking it easy.
Yeah, I until this bike, and the bike I'm pointing to is the long frame Temecula Bob bike, and it's got a motor that we put together here on the podcast. It's like 16 horsepower, and it's kind of sleeper. It's got a cool little clutch on there, F&B pipe, and I had never had a bike that fast, nor was I used to riding a bike that fast, and I did it, and I'm fine. But Dave, I'm sure that you've been on some bikes. We talked about Ed's little testing with the long frame Bonanza project, but how does it feel to go to a bike that's going 75 miles an hour, 70 plus miles an hour? Is it a different game than the 65, 60 miles an hour?
Yeah, every little 2 mile increment's a big deal on something that small.
Especially with you, you're a bigger guy.
Yeah.
Guys like Home Alone, when we talked to him about top speed and going really fast, he just said, just stay on the throttle.
Home Alone was a good rider.
Yeah, I don't know if you recently see some of the Facebook pages. We're talking about Potter Vernell, or Vernell Potter, depending on how you read his Facebook pages. And there's like 5 fucking Potter Vernell opportunities to pick as a friend on there. I don't even know which one's him, but now he's got some long hair. You see him rocking the long hair? We got to get him back on the podcast. I have a bottle of Cavassier that I just can't get my grips around with his name on it. He was supposed to be here with us, and he had traffic issues, so we'll see him again. But yeah, going fast a little bit different. At this point in my life, I'm not really looking. I don't mind owning a bike, knowing it goes that fast, but riding it's a whole different thing now. Just having one's cool enough for me. Firing it up. Bill, how about spills for you? I mean, back in the day, you had it long enough. You've had to have taken some good spills, especially with the frequencies.
Not too bad.
Yeah, so you took the neighborhood
like
scrapes,
wheelies and falling back and stuff like that.
Yeah, but nothing going into the neighbor's car.
Nothing like that. No.
No.
My brother maybe, but not me.
Yeah, sure. Well, as long as somebody else takes the hit.
Yeah.
Joe.
What, Paul?
If you're going to talk crashing in this group, the crash that I would think we would talk about, that we've laughed about the most, none of us were in. We all saw it. I put on a race at Ventura Raceway. I put on a couple. So on one particular night, Charles brought out a bike that he had built the motor and put in. I don't know what the bike was.
Charles mini drag bike. What was it?
Mini drag.
Ed, do you remember?
It was in a DB30 frame.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so he puts in a Charles Mosley bike on that
His more mild
high-speed
motor.
stall clutch.
in one of those thin-framed Chinese mini bike
yeah.
frames.
The
Racing
question
in the
is,
dirt.
how nasty was the motor? I'll tell you how nasty it was. Charles practiced on it and then put it away and said, I'm not riding. So you probably wouldn't know who Wyote is, and it doesn't matter. But he was there that night.
Okay.
And he volunteered. He wanted to ride that bike.
And Wyote was one of the old school guys that you had known, right?
Oh,
Well,
He's about my age.
he
Okay.
used to flat track race, I think.
yeah,
he-
and
he's
in
a-
fact,
But he was a ballsy guy, right? He would jump on anything. Wasn't he one of those
I'll tell
guys?
you what,
Absolutely.
he has his own page on Facebook.
What is it,
about
Paul?
Ascot. He's an old motocross.
Do you know what the
from
Facebook page
Ascot.
is? I'm just curious.
Do you know what is it called? Ascot Raceway. I don't
Okay,
know.
anyways.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Anyway,
Facebook.
so the race starts, and we're going around. Did anybody really see it?
I seen it. I seen it. I was in that race.
Well, tell the story. Let the person
And
who
we were
fucking
waiting
saw
for
it
the
tell the
race.
story then, right?
I was sitting in turn 4 waiting to.
So what happened, Cliff?
Waiting to race. Well, when the bike hit the pipe, about $5,000, and there was no more traction, and then they watered the track, and so Wyote's got an axe to grind or something, and he's going to ride this bike no matter what it takes. And he comes through turn 3, gets a little sideways into turn 4, hits the power band, and did a fly swatter.
Oh,
Out go the lights.
Pretty much
Literally?
knocked out. I
Yeah.
remember
And
seeing
they
video
loaded
footage.
him in the ambulance.
did the bike still start spinning around? Usually the bike keeps the bike just drop.
died when it hit the
Out
ground.
for the count.
And then you see the
he
ambulance
came-
It's
come.
on
he came there
YouTube.
with
It's on
his
YouTube.
son.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
It's
And
on
he ended
YouTube,
up in
yeah.
the hospital, and his son was wondering how he was going to get home.
Yeah.
So how did all that end?
Charles ended up
You know,
putting the kid in the van and driving to the hospital.
Yep.
it's almost
I think someone had to
irritating me,
come
but
pick the kid up or something.
We were.
That's ironic.
They allowed us in there. You know, I know
Yeah,
Naylor.
Rodney.
I'm sure you do.
Sure.
So Naylor, it was a good thing for him. They stuck the mini bike races in between the real big bike races. But that announcer, it wasn't Naylor that night. He was very irritating because he would say when the mini bikes would come down the straightaway, he'd say stuff like, "Well, look, I think he's using all 3 horsepower." Anyway,
It was like watching
it was
paint dry,
kinda
you know?
funny.
Oh, sure.
Naylor and I had a good laugh later when the whole night was said and done. Only one rider was hauled out of there in the ambulance, and it was Wyote from a mini bike.
I saw they were actually putting mini bikes through the paces at Irwindale this past weekend. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see
really?
some of
See that.
Yeah, a couple guys. Charles Mini Bike was there. It was the Nitro drags or something that was going on there, and they had 4 or 5 little mini bikers. Charles did a videotape, and then it showed them later on a post where they were, I don't know if they snuck in a couple, but there were people watching them, people clapping. It seems so natural for them to let us go at Irwindale. And we had a great venue, and easy to get to, and it's got accommodations.
I'd love
And
to do it again.
And it's just that wheel size. Once you start talking about that small wheel size, they all like cockroaches. They just they don't want any part of it. Anyway, so you were so Karen. That'll give you a little bit of an idea. No one lost any legs or limbs. Hey, but the night's young, right? So
I know of a particular crash.
which one was that, Edwin?
Dave's. They want to
I
speak
took a
about
bad
that?
Oh.
one. Took a bad
Yeah,
bite.
how did we not get to you on the crash? I just
I'm
did.
just being quiet about it.
Thank you,
No, it
Edwin.
was a particular crash because I was there.
Well, why don't you set us up and then we'll let Dave take us home. Set it up,
This
Edwin.
particular race was a flat track race in, I believe, Visalia.
Okay,
It was,
Visalia. Visalia exists to make Fresno look good.
Yeah, Visalia, and it was just a race, I guess, a typical race. And
All right.
I just remember going around this track and coming around the turn, and the yellow flag was out, and I see Guardrail Dave, down. Or at least I didn't know who it was until I got closer, but it was Guardrail Dave. He had gone down, and Dave saw the rest of the story, I guess. I mean,
A familiar place you find yourself in, Dave?
Well, yeah, I went out for a Friday night race and spent 7 days in Visalia.
What were you in? What were you riding?
It was a modified Baja Warrior,
Ah, okay.
a flat track. You know how we used to all set them up for the flat tracks.
Sure.
And I still don't even know how I crashed to this day.
Did you have anything that resembled a crew? Were you out there solo or with a few guys or what?
There was a group of us, probably a good 5 or 6.
And what do you remember?
we
Somebody
just
waking you
drive
up
out
or?
The ambulance.
Yeah.
Or I woke up before the ambulance came, but yeah. So it was in the turn, and I went down, and I'm not sure, but I think I sucked my.
Hold on
into the
before you
back
finish
tire.
here. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. What happened?
I think I caught a toe in a rut, and it
Oh,
threw
yeah.
my foot in the back tire, but
Threw you right down.
threw me down, threw
Knocked
the
you out?
bike down, knocked me out.
Make you wonder what you're doing. Why are you here?
Yeah.
Why don't you sell this thing?
And then, so the foot was twisted backwards. So I broke both bones in the left leg.
Oh, and is that when I kind of ran into you the first time I met up with you?
If I was on crutches.
Yeah. Yep. I think
Yeah.
I was. You're kind of a neighbor. What? Maybe it's tough to say miles or minutes around here, but you're not too far from where we are in La Crescenta. And I remember the first visit with you. You were actually pretty close to delivering the MX Bonanza to Paul. Mm-hmm. And all your bikes had much bigger tires and wheels and engines than most of the other bikes that I had seen.
Yes.
And you had your own little room behind the garage. And it was like, okay, this is a big dude to be on mini bikes and be into mini bikes. And those bikes look proportionally sized. How many in the fleet now? How many you still have?
Right now, 5, but one's going. Someone took one back today.
So your deal was buying bikes that you liked, putting them back together, and then flipping them. Then wasn't that kind of
I usually sell them just to make room to build another one.
So
to
that
get
worked
them
for
out of
you,
the way.
didn't you? Weren't able to be affected by so many of us hate parting with the bikes, right? How is it that you were able to make that disconnect? Was it just
I just want to build another one.
okay? So your next
Just-
your next project,
Yeah.
yeah.
Clear the bench and put another one up there.
He had no choice. Pretty much every time he built a bike, I'd come over and buy it.
Paul
Yeah.
does own more of my bikes than I own.
How many do you think you've purchased from him over the years, Paul? Really?
6. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's probably
Well,
more like 10.
I bought both. I bought the twins. I bought at least 2 of the Bajas.
Twins, what's
3.
the twins? The tacos?
The
Tacos,
the burritos, yeah.
The burritos.
See the twins, a little taco lingo there, huh? Wow, even got by you, Edwin.
Funny, I
Cool.
don't even remember all of them anymore.
So the twins could be the 22s of the 44s, right?
They were 22.
22.
Sure.
Built them.
Bolt together
Ed
frames.
painted them.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I didn't stand a chance. I went over there one day. He rolled out these 2 gorgeous 22s, and that's it.
So-
you won, both those bikes won, didn't they?
The red one never got entered, but the orange one did win the build-off that Ed and I are in
The
right
OMB,
now.
yeah.
And it now lives in Paul's shop.
And you guys still competing within that OMB. That to date still has to be, despite the fact that there's a lot of other opportunities, and we talked about the mini bike build-offs, and there'll be more to come. Christ, I even had an opportunity where I thought I was going to do a build-off. It's a formidable task to take that on. And I watch what they went through. and it's like I really don't have that much time to be able to pacify everybody. And I will say that the competitive guys who enter those contests, they're guys. They're ball breakers. So you're committed when you're doing a build off in any capacity. It's quite the feat. What is it about the OMB contest that still keeps old school guys like you interested? Is it because it was the original build off? Is it because you feel it attracts the best builders? What is it about it that still gets your interest?
Probably for me, it's the ease of it because they give you enough of a time frame, Cliff.
What is it? 3
Complete
months?
a bike.
Is
yeah.
it? Okay.
So it kind of forces you to finish a bike, but there's plenty enough time to finish a bike.
So you like that? What else? Do you like the competitors? Obviously.
Competitors,
Yeah.
there's some good builds, and we both know Hant, so
Sure.
we support his contests, of course.
Great. And that's Drew we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, Drew.
Yeah. You know, I actually reached out to Drew recently. Always, since we had him come out with the lovely and talented Vicky. But it's hit and miss with him. He's on the other side of the U.S. and he's trying to run a business and everything else. But we continue to ask him to come out. He was a guy that when we talked about things, often when someone gets a reaction to the Hall of Fame, it's usually a negative one where why or how come someone else didn't make it. It's just one of those things, just attracts that type of response sometimes. But I thought he was somebody that, in light of what he's done, as well as these guys like Jeff Mahalko from the Winburn event, that continues to be that focal point. You know, you wonder how many bikes would get built or bought, or how many projects would get finished, or how many engines would get painted if it weren't for that event where folks try to get it all done. I'm hoping to do the same thing with our event without putting any pressure on anybody, but I'm just getting the sense that that's starting to happen now when you hear people say things like, oh, I got time to make the event or get that finished, or I got to find something
Right.
so I can get it done. We had some posts that came in, and Justin Eichler. Justin, thanks again for your help. Is he still out there? Justin, we had some posts. There was a tech question about exhaust. Can you pull that up for us? And thanks again, Karen Kraus, for your question about the crashes. We've got I had all the 1%ers sign this can of brake clean. And we're going to give this away to you, Karen. So congratulations, Karen Kraus.
That's Manchester, right?
Yep. That's
Oh, is that her name on OMB? Or see? That's code. Justin, do you have that? Okay, Justin's going to find that, and we're going to...
have it, but it was something regarding stage 2 versus like a straight pipe.
Maybe you could take a chance just to scroll down some of those comments. Let me know when you pull it, and we'll read the gentleman's name as well as what his question was. We're going to be giving away that stage 3 pipe from F&B. I want to thank those guys as well for their support. Once again, next week. E, have you found a date for the next podcast you think works? As he works on that, we're going to try to get on Jeff from the Winburn Minibike Reunion, as well as Tate Morgan from the Gambler 500. More information and announcements about the date and time will be on the Facebook page.
June 5th.
June 5th. Ed, how's that for your schedule? Are you filming June 5th?
No.
No? Oh, you got an open calendar. Ed, I've kind of taken some things for granted. I haven't really dug too deep into what you're up to lately. I know you're buying engines like they're going out of style. What have you been doing besides the project with the Bonanza with Guardrail Dave? What else are you juggling right now?
The Barris bike and my go-kart.
Yes. Tell us give us an update on the go-kart.
It's ready to go.
How many guys are still hanging in the go-kart world? Mac, I know you got how many frames still lurking around?
Just a few junkers laying around.
It's ready for a test ride.
Now, what's powering that go-kart?
Briggs 5 horse.
Good, so you went traditional. Bill, did you ever... You've got a few go-karts I've
I
seen.
got one go-kart, yeah. I got a Steens go-kart. It's called a Ready Runabout, 1969 and a half, with a 3 horsepower Briggs.
Just the one cart?
Yeah, just the one. Took me 45 years to find it.
Wow.
They're not very common.
Tell us that story. How is it that you focused in on that one, and how is it that you found the damn thing? Why was it that one that you had to have?
Well, any Steen's go-kart I was willing to get
Okay, so how did you find this one?
through Mac.
Here comes Mac again.
Then
Mac,
then Mac loaned it to one of his friends to make a copy of it, and then he ended up just giving it to me.
Yeah, my buddy John Wood.
John Woods, yeah.
how often did you find yourself in that part making mode where you were the source? I mean, were a lot of folks.
A lot of times.
And what's the current state of that, Mac? Who's doing
I
it
must
right?
hit the swap meet more than anybody I know.
Are there still? Are you still?
Currently, I go about 3 or 4 times a week.
How much longer do we have where we can still stumble upon flathead 5 horsepower Briggs or 4 horsepower Tecumsehs or?
You can still find them. They're on shredders and rototillers and that kind of stuff. You very seldom ever find them just ready to go. You
So-
gotta take them off a machine.
So maybe you're looking, instead of motorcycles by owner, you're looking at garden tools and looking for an edger with a Briggs on it. Yeah, it's
Yep.
funny. I think,
The older Briggs.
think about this. It would be sure cool to have some of the listeners get a tip or trick from the master of collectors.
Oh, I don't want to tell anybody my secrets.
Well, no one does, but think about that, because I bet there's something that you could probably share. I was curious about some of the basic stuff. I remember I thought it was cool by putting in minibike 1 word and then minibike 2 words and then
That's what I started
mini
doing.
bike
Yeah.
engine and then
Like with the dash.
so all those things, like the dinosaur figured that shit out, right? The things that guys like Justin does, and even Ed's a fucking stealth little warrior behind that. And in fact, Ed, do you mind? You brought the Bible of mini biking there.
Yeah, whatever I've learned,
Show the folks the book there. Would you mind?
whatever I learned about mini bikes, I learned out of this book.
And you weren't joking about that.
Mini bike handbook,
Would you? Can you?
1973.
Do you mind maybe just giving us a little passage out of the book just for?
Heavy vibration throughout the whole range of the engine RPM can usually be traced by some visual defect. The engine mounting bolts may be loose, or the frame may have broken.
Very good.
Inspect the joints periodically in the area of the seat post and the fork crown. A frame that repeatedly breaks can be reinforced by 1/4-inch steel gussets at the stress points.
So
How many times did you
Wow,
was that? Did you read it like a book so that you had the knowledge before something happened, or did you find yourself going to it when you had a problem?
Well, I took this out of the library and I never returned it.
Now, for those folks who don't know what a library is, tell them what that is.
Library?
Yes,
That's where you go to read a book. You can check them out.
we actually have one.
You don't really have to return them, but
Does
you
that one have
can.
the library card in it
But you
still?
oughta.
What year was that book
Look at that.
published? Ed?
73.
73. So not too bad.
Here it says 895. I don't know what that means.
As your name, so somewhere there's a big fine with Ed Roulette's name on there. Boy, oh boy, we can go online and find out. You probably could buy a
Picture right
house.
here. I don't know if
Let's see a picture.
Emmanuel can get on it.
E?
Before reinstalling the tube, it should be initially inflated slightly. It shows a kid blowing up an inner tube.
Like a fluffer, huh?
With his mouth.
Little fluffer.
Oh boy.
So
Okay, you can put that book down then.
The fluff book.
he's blowing up an inner tube with his mouth.
Oh, folks. Hey, I have a Predator. I have a Predator V twin. You'll notice underneath the table there, to Temecula to Taco Bill's right. A Predator V twin. If you've got to build a frame around an engine like that, right? That's pretty much how it goes. Is it still a mini bike? Like, where do we get to the point where it's not a mini bike anymore? I've got enough of you old school guys
don't
here.
start that.
I just no. I want to let's go engine size
Mini trail.
and
Centrifugal clutch.
okay. So then it's not. And then what about wheel size? We had talked about
6-inch.
6-inch, and I felt,
8-inch.
especially with the modern inch, I felt that
I go as far as
8-inch.
10.
So,
You got to go 8 because Bonanza had 8-inch wheels.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that was later on in life.
but they still had. So there's a case to be made where you're still a mini bike at 8-inch wheel.
Yeah.
And anything outside of that, what is it then called? A mini moto?
Mini
Because it doesn't. A mini cycle. You use that
There's
frame.
small motorcycles and
Yeah.
there's mini cycles.
Right.
In Mac, in your
then
view,
there's
what
mini
was a mini?
trails.
What differentiated a mini bike from a mini cycle? We
Mini
talked
trails
about.
had gears.
Yeah, they did.
Those were mini trails.
But
Mini
they had
cycles
8-inch
didn't
but they
necessarily
had
have.
8-inch wheels.
I don't know.
They were kind of on a fine line there.
I don't know.
Okay.
This
They
is
said,
a
yeah, they
never
had
argument.
3 speeds
I
and
know,
a
huh?
kickstart, but they had 8-inch wheels. So that was the crossover between mini bike and mini
Mini
cycle.
Okay,
It's
so-
also what killed the mini bike.
Why do you say that?
The Hondas.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Hondas is a different.
They had gears.
But it was out of the price range of most of us mini bikers. We all knew the one kid at the top of the block that got a CT70 or a Z50. It wasn't us. The guys that were riding the mini bikes.
I bought one. I bought a year-old '69 Z28 for $165. That was
Taco
less than what a brand new Taco went for.
Yeah. Well, anything over 100 put you in a different category, right? You got away with something if it was 89 or 79. Shit, you couldn't even get the difference between the 3.5 horsepower for 79 to get your mother to give you the extra $20 to get the 5 horse, right? That $20 made a difference.
It was a lot of money.
Don't forget it. Yes, at that time, a new car was $3,000.
Yeah.
So $20 was fucking $20,
gotta put
right?
things
You
into
kill somebody for
perspective.
$20 back then. Cigarettes were 32 cents a pack. Life was good. Okay. Mac, your long-standing Mac Fest, although I think I had heard it before, you were thinking about winding down. This year I was traveling somewhere. I think I was still doing, I was doing a roadkill zip tie drag gig, because it's typically January or so, the first part of the year, and I missed your event. And I heard weather affected it just like it affected my mini bike show. That sucks, doesn't it? when it rains, you have an outdoor event, but you got through it. But this, in fact, was your last Mac Fest in terms of as we knew it. Is that correct?
Should I look at the camera and say, read my lips? Yeah, everybody asked me if it was my last mini bike yard sale. So it was my last, January 21st, I think it was, in 2019. So that was it. There's no more. This is now 2019 in May, and now it's just all about me. No, just kidding.
Good.
It's all about trying to get my own little projects done and stuff. I got a lot of health problems that are coming up and stuff, so I just can't do what I used to do. I can't go through all that work anymore. If you look at some of my previous videos, you'll see how much work it is to do all that stuff. Get a lot of help from people like Evil Ed and stuff. A guy's showing up. Justin even comes out and helps out. And some other guys in La Mirada and stuff, I won't mention their name and stuff, that sometimes kind of help out.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about, in fact, the guy with the
It's
hair.
an inside joke.
Who's the guy with the hair?
I don't know who you're talking about.
George. George, are you listening? What's George's name online? Is he
George 3.
George 3? Yeah, I know George 3. And George, look right here. Yeah, look, I'm sorry about yelling at you about the whole mini bike thing. All right, I told you no fucking riding. I know you get a little emotional. You wanted to take a ride, but you know, it was my first event. I was nervous. I may have overreacted, so I'm sorry. So when I see you, stop acting like a creep from now on. All right? I know you're a nice guy. So you got George always helped out. He's everywhere. Wherever you are, I see him.
Well, yeah.
Most of the time,
He's
right?
right down the block from me, basically.
And you brought out Ed. I noticed Ed religiously would be there the day before and be there to the end to help out.
Yeah, Ed's always there.
Yeah.
Not like the other guy we were just talking about.
Yeah, 2 days before.
George would go there, take what he wanted, and never come back.
I used to like going there. I'd watch even Ian and Eddie and his gang from CB Minis. They would roll down, and it'll be missed. That
Oh, yeah.
that annual event where Paul make the trek down and Cliff and then you would always see somebody in or out. You'd be thankful you didn't see somebody in or out. I guess at times as well, but it was always something that on an annual basis kind of kicked the year off.
You
I still
know how
remember.
You know how many calls I'm going to get in January? When's your yard sale? When's your yard sale?
When's your
None,
yard
no
sale?
more, no more.
Well, it is tough. Almost want you make you put a voicemail on it immediately after one call.
Yeah.
I even wonder why I still have a home phone, a regular phone, and it's because of some security system we don't have anymore either. So I don't think we need home phones, or I don't think I need a mailman anymore because all I get is junk mail either. So all those things we depended on. So when they reach out now, it'll be online, and they're going to say, "Well, I know you're not doing it anymore, but man, do you have an air cleaner for a 2 horsepower brakes flathead with the original set screw? And what are you going to do with all the guys who still don't want to hear no? How are we going to handle
Well,
them?"
I'm still going to be doing, I'm still collecting, because you can't just give it up. It's just I won't be doing the actual yard sales, but I'll still be doing my little videos for the swap meet treasures.
And that's the go-kart guy 15? Is that
The go-kart guy.
go-kart guy?
On YouTube.
Great. For those of you who haven't checked it out,
Yeah.
it's GOKARTGUY.
The go-kart guy.
The go-kart guy. Stick a the in front of it. Very cool. And I love your disposition. I remember your first capture of my mini bike events. That was back when we had more signs than mini bikes. It was the description I want to use. And Mac would do his. This was back when camcorders were like the size of a big piece of luggage. You know, those big things. And he has his little style and his tone. And I didn't give him much to shoot. You know, it wasn't like it was flooded with a lot of bikes outside of the 4 or 5 that I had that didn't run, and whoever else brought their bikes. And I used to listen to Max and say, what am I doing? Why? This is never going to go anywhere. Oh, there's another mini bike, Max. Yep, I think I see another one over there. And, you know, it was very...
Now it's growing. Now it's more work to film.
Yeah, it's going a little bit, but you were there right on the corner from the first time, and I know that your busy schedule and the fact that, you know, once you announce a date, you're always stepped on. There's always something else to do every weekend. And I had stepped on Pomona, which is a big place for you to go. I know Temecula Bob goes there kind of on somewhat of a regular basis, but it just so happens that this year's event, which is the 19th of October, you'll be free and you'll be joining us. So if folks want to come in and say hi, Mac will be there right on the corner, and you have as much space as you need over there. We talked about having the folks over at F&B. We'll be giving away another F&B long frame roller that Frank has agreed to give away, as well as a couple headers. We'll be giving away that one header. Justin, had you found that question by any chance?
They all disappeared. I can't see any comments.
Okay. We had a question, and I'll announce the winner tomorrow. We had a question about exhaust, and it's tough to answer the question. We don't have it in front of us, but we'll be giving away that pipe. We look to get with some of the other sponsors. Pioneer's always been with us, and we have some new products that are specifically for UTVs and some of these power sport applications we were talking about earlier. And I met with them recently, so Pioneer will be back. We'll have a slew of good prizes. We also rented the area in the back, which they use to serve food out of. So not only will we have the coffee and donut gal there, but there'll also be an area for us where we can, maybe with the folks from Scleroderma, have some refreshments available on site, and you can just make a donation. You know, there's no cost for this or that. So we're just trying to make improvement. I talked to Louie from the Dyno, and we booked him for the date, so we'll have the Dyno competition again. Also, we're looking out for anybody else who... I get a lot of comments about the judging, and it's been very positive lately, but I still get something about, well, only his friends win. I don't even think I know the people that won most of the awards. And for those of you who know me, I haven't really been big into the whole judging thing, but I know it's important for those of you who do come. If you have an interest in commenting on the judging, and if you have anything substantial to add to it, you can take a step further. You can even talk about joining the judging team. We have a lot of folks coming in from Houston and Arizona, I hear. So if those of you who are part of the mini bike world outside of California would like to maybe work with Jake Moe and Ian Cordova and Cliff, you were a big help last year. I mean, I've got a pretty legit group of guys who judge these bikes, and I'm aware of the interest and the importance of these bikes that you're bringing. So I want to have appropriate judges to make sure that your bikes are looked at well. So if you'd like to be a part of that team or find out more, reach out to Cliff or reach out to Jake or reach out to me or Ian. Evil Ed helps out, but you know, he's busy on site, and he's like our Bonanza guy. When we got more than 2 or 3 or 4 10 hot Bonanzas and we need a go-to vote, Evil Ed will come in and help us out. He's kind of like the conciliere. He oversees things on a as to need basis, as to know basis. Edwin, I saw you at my mini bike show.
Yes.
Yes, that was last year?
No.
2 years ago?
Yeah. 3 years ago even.
And it was like a ghost. And I had told people he was here. Like, oh, Edwin, no, where? He's here, he's gone. So hopefully we'll be able to see that Bonanza project that you're working on at the upcoming Joe's Minibike Reunion.
Well, yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, well, where else is it going to go, right? I mean, you said it's running, right?
Yeah, it just needs a little more
Carburetor.
finessing.
Well, go raid Evil Ed's You got to see the Evil Ed secret headquarters, huh? Better than the Batcave.
Oh yeah, I was just like, oh my god, I was pretty excited.
And all the cool cars lurking around there.
Oh yeah, I just took
He
a
didn't pay
glance. I was
attention.
more.
Yeah, I don't think he saw all the cars.
Well, we've
No,
got
I
a
didn't see the
video.
cars. I
Bonanzas.
just took a quick glance. I was just focused on the bikes.
Well,
what I was there for.
we took the time to look what was there, and there's some pretty cool vehicles there. And
Yeah.
E captured it on a drone. I think Justin was out there with us that weekend, and it's part of a video that we're working on. It also includes our little trip to see the folks over at Barris Customs, where Ed mostly and a few of us are collecting some parts for a Barris Super Stocker project bike that we're putting together for George Barris's daughter, Joe Lee. Who digs Joe Lee.
Joe G.
Joe G. Oh, Christ, I did it again? Joe G. God, Ed. Can't get it right. That and spilling the beer. She loves Ed. And we're getting ready to go for round 2 because we have some autographed posters from Greg Dahlia. Excuse me, I got the hiccups from the Long Island Minibike group. Hey, Paul, you had a really cool Scat Kitty seat. Now, these parts are all prototyped off of the guy that you knew who was so good of a builder that he said, I don't need to go buy one. I can make my own. And he went out and built and pressed and made a lot of parts.
A lot of parts.
And what is it now?
Like, here's one of his parts.
Wow.
Exhaust pipe.
Man,
I don't know if you can see that. Isn't that pretty?
you certainly can. It looks like a little piece of
A
art
little
there.
extra long on both ends so that you can make it fit your bike the way you want it to fit.
Makes sense, right?
I think so.
And
The real showstopper, this is a Scat Kitty sidecar frame.
Got it.
If you've ever worked on a Scat Kitty, these would be very familiar to you. And he copied them 100% perfect. This is exactly the way they did it back in the day.
and that's the mount.
Yes, there's
Okay.
a piece that goes on the frame, and this hooks to it. It's really amazing, really, what they did. I mean, I own a Scat Kitty, and believe me, I've compared this. It's perfect.
Yeah, so he just took the basic dimensions and really made it times
Yeah.
3. Well, it looks like a piece that it looks like a front end piece to a
And then,
pony car. You know, it looks like it's a car part.
one of the things about Scat Kitties, you can find them and buy them. However, there are certain pieces that are virtually impossible, and the clutch cover or the chain guard. If you can find a Scat Kitty that's still got a good one, it's pretty shocking, pretty amazing.
And is that because they were fiberglass originally and they were all broken, or was it?
Unfortunately, they were aluminum, and that's probably why you don't see them. They just over the years got messed up.
Okay.
So after I took on this Scat Kitty thing, which is only about 3 months ago, I don't think a month had gone by, and I was on Facebook, and I see the new Powell Owners Group.
Yeah, the Facebook page, the popular
We
Powers.
already have 300 members. Well, I was very into Powell. Very. I still own, I don't know, 4.
I bought one from you.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I recently sold it.
So I was looking at that one night, and I went, oh my God. Opportunity is knocking my door
Yeah,
down.
because those are hard to
And
find as
so
well.
We created a Powell chain guard. And I'm telling you, I own Powell's, and you hold this up against the real thing, and you cannot tell the difference. It's perfect. Now, somebody here is going to go, but it doesn't look so perfect. Well, I agree. And I complained, this is part number 1.
It's the prototype,
And they
sure.
went back and spent about 2 hours on the mold,
All right.
and they promised me that the next ones will be perfect. Also, I do the sticker.
The decal.
That isn't no, it isn't a decal.
Oh, here we go.
This is a sticker. This is not
Got
a-
it. And I do know the difference. Is it sticker or sticker? Jeez.
And the reason I did a sticker is because Powell did a sticker.
Yes, I remember
So-
that. Now, there were 2 types of chain /
Well,
belt covers on the Powells, right?
there were 3. If you
Were
want
they
to
through?
get
Okay.
technical.
So this was the one that fit what models? Do you remember?
Well, all the early Challengers, it really didn't change until close to the end when they made that real square,
Yeah.
stupid steel one. The cool thing about this is This was made in aluminum for years. Then the Powells changed over to plastic. Same thing. They
Yes.
use the exact same.
I had the plastic one.
Yeah. So if you own a Powell and you need a chain guard, you could buy this one and buy crinkle paint, the black crinkle paint. I already did it in my shop.
For the look-alike?
You can't tell the apart
Yeah.
from the plastic one.
Well, for those of you that are working on those
So,
bikes, just finding a...
I don't have this up on eBay yet. It'll be up within a week. I don't even have, this is the only one I've gotten so far, but as soon as I have some more, I'm going to throw them
Well,
up
and
on
it's one of
eBay.
the more hard to find parts to finish that Powell project. Just finding the Powells on their own are tough. I saw something posted yesterday. I'm not sure on which site it was. It's one of these typical things. What do you guys think it's worth? And it was a basket case Powell that had been left outside forever. And one guy say definitely under 100 or at least 150. It's still funny, even in this rotting stage. And they're so unique looking, you can tell a Powell a mile away. I was missing the hard to find parts like the seat. You know, I would think that's one. Finding the 8-ball shifter handles, and there's some parts that could be pretty tough to find when you complete those. So if you are working on a Powell and maybe these covers are what you're missing to finish off your collection, you could check out Minibike Paul. Always in it. You're in the Scat Kitty. I just never saw you as a Scat Kitty guy. You're a bigger guy. I figure you're more for like one of these Ronkins. Is that what they're called? Or
Bad
Trail?
dogs.
Yeah. Oh, the Bad Dogs? I don't know. I never got into the Bad Dogs Bajas. I'm barely able to get through the Coleman Motovox. Anything that was 60s or 70s when it was made outside of the 70s. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I never got into those bikes. Now I will say that our guy Corona Irving took, what was it, a Motovox frame? You see what he's working
I
on?
didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
Nope.
For those of you who
When
may
it
have
comes to a Motovox frame, I didn't see it.
gotcha. So you may have, you just don't want to.
You remember that airplane sidecar bike? I wanted to sell it to you, I think.
You did.
That was, no, I still have that one.
No,
That
you
was
wanted to. I remember
yeah.
you offered it
So
to me.
that was built on a Bad Dog, the big Bad Dog.
Got it. Well, it's a great platform to build from, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For that, it was perfect, actually.
Hey, look, we're close to wrapping up the podcast, folks. We will announce the winner of the F&B pipe tomorrow morning, as we typically do, as well as the Muscle Mini Bike Build T-shirt. Those are really nice T-shirts. If you want to buy one, you can buy them on their site. We'll also be sending out one of these autographed CRC Brake Clean cans by the One Percenters. We have a few others. We'll look at some of the comments and we'll send them out. We'll take the last few minutes here to spend with our esteemed guests here. Guys, is there anything that we missed?
Yes.
Who's the next Hall of Fame?
The second Hall of Famer.
Oh, it's funny that you say that. In fact, I'm glad that I didn't close the podcast without doing that. The Hall of Famers list this year, once again, congratulations, Paul.
Thank you, sir.
We had a list of, I don't know, there's 25 names here. We had a list that was about halfway full that I thought all of them could have had a appropriate place in the Hall of Fame, and eventually we'll find. But this year's selection was pretty clear. And Ed, if you'd like to maybe take a moment to recognize the Hall of Famer.
Guardrail Dave.
We're doing it together now.
You certainly are.
Oh, wow.
In fact, we have a little something for you a little bit later on in the podcast. Congratulations, Guardrail Dave.
Thanks, Joe.
For all the obvious reasons, a no-brainer. And yes, how appropriate in retrospect to go into the Hall of Fame.
He did it in a lot fewer years, you know.
Well, he lives closer.
Well, I'm flattered to be in the same class with Dave. That's cool.
Yeah, and let's face it, a lot of this stuff is subjective, and a lot of it is pretty much a no-brainer. This one, to me, is a no-brainer. And welcome, again, we'll look forward to celebrating this with you again at the Minibike Reunion. And that's fun because we get to put your face on, like, billboards, like we did over here, and put you on the Facebook page. Yep. Oh, incidentally, when we
Hall of Famer hat.
when we leave, if you guys can all please sign the Miss Minibike. In fact, hi, Cherie. Cherie was Miss Minibike, our original Miss Minibike. And
Has she been retired? I mean,
she's doing more than mini bikes now, let's just say. She's doing really well. She has a beautiful young daughter that I hope she gets to be 16 pretty soon because she'll be the new Miss Minibike. And I'll be really old. And I'll be that guy.
Not that guy.
So, Paul, did you want to give any shout-outs as we wrap up the show tonight?
there's only one other thing. I mean, you've given me plenty of time. When we were talking about the racing, to me, because I came in as the old races were just dying, and then we started a bunch of new races. And the last couple of races Edwin was in were really exciting. A friend of mine up in Oxnard, his name is Rob Marion, he's known as RPM. He's an ex-flat tracker, very serious, heady guy. He used to go practice on the weekends out down where we live in Ventura County. And they put on some great races. Edwin won the last 2-3 races they had together. Rob was just right on him. I kept begging Rob. He's still Rob.
You got the goods, Edwin?
I got
Get
the
under
kids,
him.
prove it.
I told Rob, get under him.
Nice
I'll
plaques?
take him out. But he wouldn't do it.
Oh, what a nice. So those, let's.
It's upside down.
What is that?
These are all
Good job.
my trophies, actually, to be honest with you.
Let's see. What do you got out there?
You know, when I
So Edwin, you were man. What did you say? I see a dozen trophies in there.
Oh, yeah, there's quite a
And
few.
Nick, where are they from? Like, read off a few of them.
Well, this one was a winter TT flat track. This was at Inland Motorsports Motorcycle Speedway.
And what dates were those? What years were those?
This one was 2011.
You could fill up the wall with that.
Yeah, and then this one was June 19th, 2010, in first place at Southern California Flat Track Association.
And how many bikes did you compete against in that one?
Oh, gosh, this was so long ago.
There are 20 of them, or 10 of them, or
What's that? These
how
trophies?
many? No, how many guys did you compete against?
It was probably like maybe 5 to 10, maybe, depending. I don't recall.
Well, congratulations to you back then. That's some pretty stout
Yeah.
stuff. That's
the
some
minibike
that's some good hardware.
What's that?
the minibike plaques,
The Minibike
the
plaques.
Ventura one.
These are not Ventura ones. This one, yeah, just these two are Ventura ones, I think.
Congratulations to you, brother.
Yeah.
Look at that little vintage mini bike on the bottom there.
Show the camera.
Yeah, there you go.
Minibike? What?
Edwin, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Just want to shout out to my girlfriend Tammy. She was inquiring about watching the show today, and just want to give her a shout out for watching.
Thanks for watching, Tammy. Take good care of Edwin. Make sure as a date you mark down the 19th of October. Make sure he gets his Bonanza mini bike done. Let's switch over to you, Nick. I know that you're a man of few words when it comes to things like shameless plugs, but who's out there that you want to give a shout out to?
I'll give a shout out to Eric Adams.
Oh, yes.
I'll give a shout out to Drew and Vicky Pratt.
Yes.
Shout out to and Steve Rice.
Steve Rice. Great. How about you, Mac?
Just like to I'd like to thank everybody for helping me at the Max Mini Bike Yard sales over the years. Evil Ed and all the others, Justin and all. And that's it.
Yeah, we'll see Mac out at the Joe's Minibike Reunion as well. You can't miss him. He'll be right on the corner. What's your suggestion to these guys who want to buy some parts besides getting there early, Mac? Get there early?
Bring money.
Bring cash?
Money talk.
Cash
Yeah.
stocks.
That's pretty much how it works. We don't take no debit cards over there.
Yeah.
Ed, I know that you've been thinking good thoughts for Sharon. I want to give Sharon a shout out, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sharon.
My girlfriend.
Hi, Sharon. Hope you're doing well. And who else, Ed? Anybody else helping you guys with the Bonanza that may have given you a little bit of a help? Or
My dog.
oh yeah, Loca. We'll give Loca a shout out. How about you, Guardrail Dave, our newest member into the Hall of Fame?
Well, thank you for inducting me to the Hall of
Hey,
Fame.
they
man.
did.
It
Congratulations.
looks like all my friends are here right now.
Oh, there you go. Make those shout outs pretty quick. Taco Bill, I know you got a couple hour ride ahead of you.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Are you going to be able to make it home, or you want me to
Yeah, I'll
strap
be
you into
fine.
the spare?
I'll be fine. I'm used to it.
Spare bedroom.
Is the wife still up listening?
I don't know. I don't know.
Let's pretend she is.
And so I'll give a shout out to my wife and
Yep.
not bother me in the garage. Let me do my thing. So I really appreciate her
It helps, man.
Her understanding that I love this sport and stuff. You know,
I do the same thing, man. I hang out in here, and every once in a while, I just look in the window, and as long as she's still smiling,
Yeah.
when you get the little, like, come on,
She
food's
gives me
ready.
that look, and I go,
Yeah.
okay, it's time to put the tools down and come in.
How's that look of yours? How does she give you the little...
I can't.
You can't. You don't want to
I
say
don't wanna
it.
do that
You
right
don't
now.
want to think about it.
Pretend like you don't see it.
It's been my pleasure. I'd like to take an opportunity to thank Justin Eichler, not Eckler, for those of you who are following along. Justin, who is not only probably one of the most rabid collectors out there, and as a result, probably a walking realistic price guide. I mean, if anybody knows what's out there and where it is and what it's selling for or what people will pay for it, he's always buying or selling shit. He sold me a set of wheels before he even got down halfway down my driveway. So I'll be writing him a check, and he takes PayPal too. He takes all the good-natured ribbing from Evil Ed, and Ed's been working him pretty hard lately. Ed, before we go, can you just get us another little segment out of the mini bike guide? Can you
Another one?
just one more to close out the show? Give me one that's going to give us a good closer here. I want to thank all of our sponsors while Ed finds a spot.
Find a good one here.
Once again, our next Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast, Emmanuel, June the 5th. Right here, it's going to be with Jeff Mahalko from the JMBR Reunion and Tate Morgan from the Gambler 500. I want to thank everybody for listening, and we'll close it out with a little bit of a verse out of the Mini Bike Guide by Evil Ed. Ed, take us out, won't you?
Engine runs and quits. Usually this is a fuel starvation problem. Check the system as outlined above and remove the gas cap. A clogged cap vent will also prevent the engine from running more than a few minutes at a time. Another possibility is heat breakdown, one of the ignition components. The condenser is likely the culprit. Then the coil. If the engine has two coils, suspect one mounted under the flywheel since it's subject to most of the heat and vibration.
It's Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast, everybody. Thanks for listening. Evil Ed. See you next time.
Joe's Minibike Show.